everybody, it's Sandy Allnock here to visit with you again at Simon Says Stamp, and I want to show you how to take an image. I'm going to use this magnolia one as an example and amp it up and turn it into a wow image. Might have been great before, but when you add a lot of detail to it, it really makes a huge difference. I'm speeding up the quick coloring of this. If you want to see the actual coloring and hear the play-by-play, that is over on my channel, but it would be too long to do this video and all of the amping up of details, so I'm just speeding through this so you can see how it comes together, and then I'm going to show you step by step how I took it from wow to like crazy amazing. I've colored two of them and they're pretty close to each other. I've tried to do them as much the same as I could, but I'm going to use the Copic multi-liner set. This is new to Simon Says Stamp and I love this set. It's got all these different nibs to it and they go from super thin to wide marker, and then it has a couple brush markers in it. These are the widths that you get, so you can see you can get a lot of different types of lines with them, and you can match different stamp lines. And I'm also going to use the Signo pen, one of my other favorite detail adders, and I have a Copic Sketch colorless blender marker, which is my other favorite for cleaning up and adding details and making something really sparkle a lot. I'm going to use it just a little bit on this, and if there's areas where you've colored a little bit too much, you can just go in and just take a tiny touch of it to add just a little tiny bit on the edges of an image. You can clean things up, lots of little tiny details that you can do with this colorless blender. And then I'm going to go for my 0.5 pen. This one is, one of the bigger, fatter ones and works great to solidify the black areas. So anything that's really dark black should be actually black. And sometimes when we stamp them, they end up kind of grayish or not perfectly stamped. And I found a little toe that needed some colorless blender on it. And then this one is the 0.1, and I matched it to the width on the stamp. And when you have the whole set, you have a choice of all different kind of widths depending on the size of the stamp line. So it works great. And I'm just going to go in on each of the places where there's a shadow and beef up that line just a tiny bit. It doesn't have to be a lot, but when this is all said and done, you're going to be able to see the difference. And you can look back to the image on the left and see the difference it's already making in some areas. There's some where I think there's more contrast on the image on the left, but if there's things that you didn't quite have a dark color for and you couldn't get some tiny detail on with your Copic markers, you can always add that with your black pen later. And the specific great thing about these Copic multi-liners is that they work well with Copics. So if you need to go back in with your markers again and color into this, you can do it after doing this kind of detail work with the pens. Whereas if you used another kind of pen, you probably would start mushing the ink around because most pens are not Copic friendly. You can also add patterns. I'm adding a pattern to her dress, and I'm kind of going around the curve of her tummy to create this little shape and this little pattern on her dress to do some cross hatching. And you can do polka dots, you can do flowers, you can add all kinds of little tiny details to something to really add some sparkle to that image. And just wow your friends and family when you give them these cards that are made with amazing detail on them. And I keep squinting at it to see if there's other areas that need to pop. There's, things that are blending into each other too much. The colors are close to each other. The inside of his nose is a little deeper, so I wanted to make sure there was a pop to that. And now I got out my Signo pen, and it's not quite working right, so I just scribble a little bit off on my finger, and that usually warms it up, and voila, perfect dots. There is nothing that makes my little crafty world happier than getting a brand new Signo pen. When they work perfectly and when there's a brand new one, you can tell the difference between your old one that was just about out of ink. It goes on just perfectly and adds, you can already see the sparkle starting to be added to this image by just adding those little polka dots. I'm going to add highlights to her eyes. I don't know why they don't put highlights on the eyes of the little girl when they put it on the eyes of the dragon. So I think she's cute. I'm also working from the top left down toward the right with my detail work because this will stay wet and you don't want to lay your hand on top of it and smush it. Now I'm going to add something else that I did, which is I colored the heads and feet so I could pop them. And so I colored them to match the whole image, and I'm putting them on some dimensional. And before I put each of the images on, I go around them with the brush marker from the multi-liner set. And this works really great. It doesn't bleed, and you just remove that little white edge. I'm using Tombo's Power Adhesive tabs to do the dimensional on this. You can use the pink or the blue package, same thing. But it's really low profile, which means your image is not going to end up so popped that it looks like it's a whole separate image. You just stick that on there, and it really keeps it unified because the papers are at least really close together. This is the finished card using the before image. I used the Nob Hill 6x6 from My Mind's Eye, some Simon dyes for the sentiment and for the talk bubble. But look what happens when you amp up that image. All of a sudden there's a transformation to it that adds so much detail, and it's really, it can make any of your images colored with your Copics into something super special. So here's a side view where you can even see the glossy accents on the eyeballs. Lots of little details make an image super special. If you'd like to see the original coloring of this image, please click on the link in the description, and I will see you another time here at SimonsSaysStamp.com.